Hi, my name is Mike Shoen, and I'm running for District 3. I'm also a libertarian. I'm a friend of Powell Gamble, who just spoke. And he's very entertaining. That's the worst case scenario. But I've been trying, it's very possible, and the underlying problems he identifies are true, but I've been trying to talk to people to discuss ways to rescue this system. And the ways I've been talking about are number one, new manufacturing, like Germany has done, okay, and it does today. A smaller country, it leads the world in exportation of manufactured goods. It supports a vibrant healthcare system, and it can do it. We have been, the Democrats, your friends, the Democrats and your friends, the Republicans, have been exporting new manufacturing overseas, or manufacturing, not replacing with new manufacturing, for 60 years. The line goes down, and they're lying to you now about new taxes, because about cutting taxes is going to bring back jobs. That'll bring back $10 and $8 an hour service jobs. Is that what your kid's going to support him or herself on? Is that going to allow anyone to raise a family? It doesn't work. So that's a lie. They're all telling you today. Tax cuts, because you're giving tax cuts to corporations that already put their good jobs at $25 and $30 an hour jobs overseas. Understand that? Does anybody not understand that? That's the lie. Okay, the next thing, 30 seconds, is our great fun Republican spectator sport of choice killing people. War. Costs $1 trillion a year. Government spends basically $3 trillion. That's a bogus deal. That's a military, industrial, governmental complex that a real patriot, Eisenhower, warned about in the last most important speech of his life. And that's a ripoff, and when he's down the drain, it goes to the armaments industry. It screws everyone else.
How will you maintain Social Security for future generations?
Well, that's a tough deal. We have unfunded liabilities, about $64 trillion, which includes Social Security. The problem with Social Security, and if you Google or YouTube Paul Craig Roberts, very brilliant economist and saying the truth, the problem is, because we're not creating more wealth in this country with new manufacturing called value added, we can't keep up with the growing Social Security and entitlements payments, okay? So that's the problem right there, because we throw it down to our buddies who we got on welfare, the military, industrial, armaments industry. We're throwing everything away, so we're not going to be able to support it. I have a degree in economics, but I haven't figured this out by the numbers, but that's, Greenspan says it, Paul Craig Roberts, we're not going to be able to support it. Sorry. I can't.
Okay.
I can't make it happen. The way you make things, it's not.
What do you see as barriers that can be removed to increase employment opportunities for people with disabilities?
I got no problem to answer that one. I work with people with so-called disabilities, and they're pretty smart hombres. Some of them are very smart because they compensate in other ways. So you should try and give everybody opportunities for jobs, but that's just going back to new manufacturing. You give new manufacturing through investments in education, in fundamental research, and in infrastructure. Just like Germany did it and whipped our tail, and Taiwan's doing it, whipping our tail. They're doing it. And that creates jobs for everybody, including people with so-called disabilities. We have to, what's happening now is the super rich, myself and my two opponents are very wealthy people, okay? We're doing real well because we just invest in companies. They can be offshore somewhere else because we're doing real well. But the rest of you who have to work for a living are getting hammered. And the Republicans and the Democrats aren't going to tell you because they're part of the aristocratic elite.
What are your thoughts on healthcare reform?
Well, I'll tell you my thought. It's nice when you have money. You know, it's great. I've had money. There have been times when I didn't have it, but I've got money now. Healthcare works great for me. You want to have a country that has money, has wealth. We don't. We're losing it because we've been exporting around and saying, "Oh, Ronald Reagan, the great Republican, He was the guy who provided the intellectual so-called justification to export manufacturing out of this country. To get money, you can take care of healthcare. The Germans do it. I was a caregiver for a gentleman who was in that healthcare system over there in Germany. They've done it. We could do it here, but we won't because nobody knows about it or nobody cares.
If elected, would you support the ADA and other federal disability rights laws?
You know, I have to be honest about that. I've never reviewed the law, so I can't really intelligently answer it. I suppose it's a law that helps people who have disabilities, and I want to do that. And I've done, but I really don't. If we've got the money, we ought to do it. But there's the downside of what Powell says is that you're forcing people to point a gun to take money and give it to help other people. But there's some of that we want to do. The problem is the amount of lying is so substantial and so endemic, and it's by the government to us, and it goes through those institutions we call mainstream media, which are controlled by the gigantic and owned by the gigantic corporations that also control the government. You're just getting nonsense. If you want to get some information that's true, go on the internet and look around, or look at Freedom's Phoenix, which is what Powell is the editor for, freedomsphoenix.com. But the mainstream media is going to lie to you.
Good. Medicare has an in-home exclusion for people with disabilities that if they're ambulatory in the home, they are not eligible to receive complex durable medical equipment such as a power wheelchair. If elected, would you be willing to remove that exclusion?
You know, it's another issue that I haven't really looked at. I think I understand because I listened carefully when Powell spoke about it, and I would try to help people who have disabilities, in so-called disabilities in general. But I can't answer that one specifically. I go back to the whole issue of let's get rich again. Let's be wealthy. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice if you got a neighbor who's making $40 an hour and he has your kid cut his lawn? But we're not that way. We're going down the tube because, like I said, the aristocratic elite, Democrat and Republican, are doing real well. It's like the fake wrestlers on TV. Their fight is fake, but it brings a bigger crowd and they get more money.
What's your position on nullification?
Jury nullification?
No, nullification.
State nullification?
Is a process by which the states say, effectively, the law that the federal government has passed is unconstitutional, and they are not going to enforce it.
Well, I would say, no, my position on that is that states should start withdrawing from the so-called union. I wrote an article you can find on the internet, and I'm dead serious about this. 5 years ago, the title of the article is Government is Organized Crime. I've got 13 separate areas. They took all that stuff from organized crime. It started out with 1942, the New York dock stuff. They went down to Sicily. Then during the Kennedy years, they were all mixed up in assassinations and all that. Government is organized crime. And it's a wonderful article. Take a look at it. I'm an attorney with 20 years litigation experience. I won a lot of big cases. I wrote a book that was best book in the field of automotive literature in this country and book of the year in England. So what we're talking about is rather serious. And if one person here tonight, one person gets the kernel or the seed of an idea and starts pursuing this, you'll see that it's true. We have the mainstream media let you deal with what's called diversionary trivia. Should there be a mosque at ground zero? Hey, how stupid can you get? How about 1070? That stuff's already done. It's in the court. Doesn't make any difference. But let's really beat at that horse to death. They want you to deal with diversionary trivia. They've been bankrupting our country. I know all about that. That's a great one. I'd love to talk for 10 minutes on that, how they've done that. They took the Social Security Trust Fund that by law was supposed to have all this money segregated. Or they spent every penny of it on their dumb programs. You know, their wars and their entitlement programs, okay? The reason the dollar's under pressure as the world currency exchange, because we are using that to rip off other countries. Do you understand that? 1972, Nixon went off the last vestige of the gold standard, and that's every country in the world knows we've been ripping them off. and they're just waiting and trying to get off the dollars gold standard. The only reason we're alive financially today is we're still ripping people off with the dollar as a standard of international currency exchange. The rip-offs continue. The Ponzi scheme that Bush did and encouraged, and that Greenspan kept saying, oh, I'm doing it, but it's going to end bad. That was the mortgage deal, making more money available, because the only way you could increase wealth in this country during Bush's last 8 years was to fake people out and make them think their home was getting more valuable, because we weren't creating new manufacturing jobs. The Democrats and Republicans don't have any guts. They don't have the guts to look at 9/11. They don't have the guts to tell you the truth about the economy.